Welcome guys, this is the lecture 1 of Introduction to Error and Error Propagation. In this video we are going to learn what is error, what kind of error we are going to face during experiment, how to calculate them, also how to tackle them. This video will helpful for all the undergraduate student for their lab course. In the first video we are going to see different kind of errors, and in the next video we are going to learn how to calculate the propagation error. So now first come with what an informal definition of error. Every measurement an experimenter make is uncertain to some degree. The error are measure of the lack of certainty in the value. Like if you are going to measure a A4 size page, a width of the A4 size page, it is coming out to be 210 millimeter, like 21 centimeter, but you can't say is it exactly like 21 semi and 0.5 micrometer or 21.05 semi, like that. You can't exactly measure what is its exact length. There is some uncertainty in their measurement. So while we are measuring the width of A4 paper with an ordinary centimeter scale, I am writing here error as a plus or minus 0.5 millimeter. This is the uncertainty in our measurement. Actually, the scale we are using have a smallest division of 1 millimeter, and here as an uncertainty we are taking the half of the smallest division. That means up to 0.5 millimeter we can accurately measure the length of the paper, the width of the paper. So this is an example of error. This is called instrumental error. We are going to discuss it in great detail in a few moments, and came to another example of error. So assume that we have a tank of oil, and from this tap oil is coming out. So now when this tap going old, say after 10-20 years, when you tight the tap, you will notice some dipping forming. It will be not completely stop. You will going to notice a oil drop is coming out in every 5 minutes or every 10 minutes or so. Now we want to get a number, like what is the weight of the oil drop coming from that old tap. So to do so, we put a weight machine below the tap which has an accuracy of 0.1 milligram. So it can, at minimum, it can measure 0.1 milligram. So we collect some 100 or 10 droplet, 100 or some 200 droplet, and measure all their weight. It is coming out to be that almost all the droplet or drop have a weight between 132 to most of the droplet have the weight between 132 to 138 milligram. Now we are going to write that if you observe a drop, or if you are going to measure a weight of a drop, you are going to get is weight as something around 135 plus or minus 3 milligram. So how we arrived this kind of a number? So we are going to discuss them in shortly. Now first came to types of uncertainties. There are two kind of uncertainties, or two kind of error. One is random error, one is systematic. First came to random error. So let us start with an example. Consider we are measuring time required for a weight to fall to the floor from a height h. So to do so, we have a very good system, like we have an electromagnet which are holding an iron ball, and in the ground we have a electronic sensor. So now we have a switch here. When we press it, the electromagnet current through this electromagnet will stop. A stopwatch will start counting time, and when this ball fall on this ground, the stopwatch will stop. That's how we are going to measure this time. Now let's say the height is some 2 meter or 5 meter. Height is quite low. Now what we will notice, we are going to notice that like our oil drop experiment, here we also notice every time we are going to press the button and notice the time, we will see some difference every time. Like time will be not same, what we are going to measure, time will be not same. So this we are calling it, because this kind of error we are calling it as a random error, because this occurred due to some electronic delay, something with the ambient condition or so. So we can't do nothing about that. But what thing we can do, that we can measure several times, like say n times. So what thing we will notice, that random error. So this kind of error, what we are getting every time when we are measuring, we are getting a different number, slightly different number. So this kind of error is we call random error. Random error changes on every repeat of measurement. So as earlier I say, random error are due to some fluctuation or instability in the observed phenomena, the apparatus, the measuring instrument, or the experiment. So one thing to get rid of random error is that to repeat your experiment several times. Like here we are saying we are going to repeat our experiment n times. Now in case of a error, how to quantify our result or how to calculate the error. So best estimate, like here we may going to measure the weight of the oil drop or the time of fall. So base estimate of true quantity. So in case of our previous experiment, it is the fall time. Will be, so we have to take a large number of observation, n times observation, and then we have to take the average of those observations. So that T average is our T best. So that is our measured value here. So now we have to find the error. What is the error in our measurement? So to calculate the error, so what we have to do to calculate the error, we have to take average of all the sample we taken. It may be fall time or it may be weight of the oil drop. Then we have to divide all the sample. We have to divide all the samples at ith sample from the average, and then take a square of it, square of the difference, and we have to do it for all the sample. Then we have to take a sum and then divide by n. So here we are actually, if we consider our T average is kind of a say, what can we say, kind of a true value of our measurement. It is absurd, but for convenience sake, let us assume that T average giving us a true value of fall time. So T I minus T average will give us kind of a error of every measurement, every ith measurement. Then we are squaring of we are taking average of the square of this error. Then we are taking square root. So this formula will give us the error in case of this random, when there is error is random. So we are going to use this formula when our sample size is relatively large. So for thumb rule in laboratory, we can assume that the sample size is greater than equal to 20. So now we can write the best value T best. So T can be mass or fall time. It is as a T average and plus or minus sigma. The sigma is here. Here we call this standard deviation because of some statistical naming. We sometimes also call this sigma as a root mean square error, RMS error, because we are taking here the squares mean and then taking the root. Now there is another thing, that if our sample size is less, say for again it is a thumb rule for laboratory, less than 20, then instead of n we are going to use n minus 1. Now one thing, let me give you one example here. When we are going to measure the time period of oscillation, say a pendulum is oscillating, we are going to measure the time period. So we don't measure the time period for a single oscillation or two oscillation. We take time, we count the time for 30 oscillation, 40 oscillation, 20 oscillation, and then take an average. That's how we actually basically reducing our random error. So random error, that time random error occur when you actually start the watch and stop the watch. It may depend on your fitness, your response time, so on. But if you take large number of measurement, you can basically reduce your random error there. Because say like for 30 measurement, you have you calculate the total period of 30 oscillation is like 3 minutes or 3 minutes or say 3 minutes or 3.5 minutes. Now when you start the stopwatch and start counting, maybe some random error of, say maybe just for a guess, a random error of 3 millisecond occur, and when you are also going to stop the stopwatch, say again a random error of 2 millisecond. Now total 5 millisecond is here. So now 5 millisecond is very less with respect to a 3.5 minutes. So we can easily neglect this kind of error here. But in case of oil drop, we have no other option. We have to consider we have to calculate the error there, because we are getting data at a time. So now came to our oil drop experiment and how I calculate the error there. So this is the data set for oil drop measurement. So all the numbers in milligram. So I am representing here 20 measurement values. Now if I calculate M average, it is coming out to be 135.6 milligram. So now I calculate Mi minus M average for every term, and also take whole square them and then make a sum. The sum is coming out to be 231.45. Then I divide it by sample number 20. It is coming out to be 11.57, and then ultimately sigma is 3.40. Now we have to write our measurement. So mass of the drop will be 135 plus or minus 3 mg. So while we represent our error, we have to represent our error in a single significant digit. So instead of 3.4, it is better to write 3. If it was like 3.6 or 7, we will going to take it 4. Take it 4. So now our error is 3 milligram. So there is no meaning of this number 0.6. So we are representing our mass as a full integer here, 135 plus or minus 3 milligram. So what it is suggesting, like someone came and take a measurement of single drop, So he is going to find the weight of a droplet. A weight of a drop will be in this range. Like he will get may get a weight of 138 or 132. So in between, so most of the weight he will get in between these two values. So that is mean by this observation here. So that's in this way we can calculate random error. So it is basically applicable for sometime it is applicable for pendulum or some oscillatory motion, but in case of oscillatory motion it is good to take several measurement and then take a average. And if you take very large number of samples, sometimes the calculation of error is not necessary. But in case of pendulum, we instead of stating our random error or RMS error, we can state there our instrumental error. So let us come to next topic, uncertainty due to instrumental precision. Next to that, we are going to come. So we will discuss systematic error. Now discuss uncertainty due to instrumental precision. So not all errors are statistical in nature. That means some measurement cannot be improved by repeating them many times. Like how many times you measure the width of the A4 page, all the time it is coming out to be 210 millimeter or 21 centimeter. So for example, assume you measure a length of an object or weight of an object. The accuracy will be given by the spacing of the tick marks of the measuring instrument. Like in the scale of in case of a meter scale, it will be given by the smallest division, or in case of a weight scale, a digital weight scale, again the smallest division, how small it can measure. So here I measure a neodymium bar magnet. So length is coming out to be 45 millimeter. Let me see, yes, 45 millimeter. And now here you can notice the bar magnet does not cross this line, this 4.69. That means my length is in between 4.5 to 4.6 centimeter, or 40 in between 45 to 46 millimeter. So how many times I measure? So every time I am going to get the same result. There will be no improved in our error. Like in case of random error, if we take more number of samples, that going to improve our measurement. So in this case, we take error as a half of the smallest division of our measuring instrument. So that's how we actually basically define instrumental error, because here repeated measurement will not help. Like we can take 2 or 3 measurement, careful measurement, that will be enough. Then we have to put a error bar that will be given by half of the smallest division. So in case of a time period measurement of a oscillation, we can do the same thing. So end of the measurement, we can give our smallest division of stopwatch, because if you take very large sample, random error will be very small with respect to your total data sample. So that's how we can state our values in case of a time period measurement of some oscillation. So now came to systematic error. A systematic error is one that is reproduced on every simple repeat of the measurement. So every time you measure, you will going to get same error. In case of random error, every time you measure, number will be different. So you have to deal with there will be error will be different. So the error may be due to calibration problem, a zero error, a technique error, or a technical error due to experimenter. So most of the cases systematic error can be removed. So let me give you an example. For example, if a voltmeter calibrated incorrectly and read 5% higher than it should, so then every reading we record using, so every reading we are recording using that voltmeter, we will get an error of 5%. So there is, so one thing we can test the voltmeter with some other good instrument, and we will get an idea that it is giving us an extra 5% error, and then we can calibrate it. So let me discuss some important terms related to error. So first term is observed or calculated value. A value either observed or calculated from observation. That means, for example, the value obtained using a ruler to measure the length, or the electronic balance to measure the mass. So these are the observed value, or like the time due, the measurement of fall time. So every time what you're going to get a value. So all these values are observed value. Or another thing is calculation of density. So based on calculation of density based on two observed values. Like first we have to observe the volume of a body and observe mass of a body. Then we have to calculate the density. So that is here two terms discuss observed and calculated values. So like we can observe distance and time, then calculate velocity. Sometimes we can observe velocity and time, calculate acceleration. Now came to true value. Actually, true value is a philosophically obscure term, because there is no way we can get a true value of anything. Like how precisely you measure length of length of something like that A4 page, you can never exactly tell what is the exact value of the width of the A4 page. So there always will be some error. Maybe it can be due to instrumental limitation or some other thing. But practically, an average of large number of careful repeated independent measurement can be taken as a true value, or we can use this value to replace the true value. Like we know the charge of electron as well as another one is Planck constant. Both values are experimentally determined. So both values are experimentally determined by Millikan. So Millikan first do Oil-Robb experiment for getting the charge of electron, and after Einstein give his photoelectric theory, he also calculate the value of H. So nowadays we are taking these two value almost like a true value, because he calculated this value based on large number of repeated measurement, like consider some 1,000 measurement or so. Not only that, people all over the world do lots of experiments, some other experiment to calculate this value. So now we take this value as for practically we can say as a true value. Now came to one next term, which is absolute error, and another term is average. So absolute error is observed value minus true value. Like as we earlier say, there is nothing like a true value. So practically we take absolute error as a difference between a measurement and the average value. Then average error will be average of all those absolute error. Then we can write value of a measured quantity as a average value of the measurement plus or minus this average error. So here we can write one thing here. Our sigma was xi minus x average whole square by capital N or small n. So we can state here, also one summation have to be there, that sigma is average of square of absolute error. Square average of absolute error. That's why we are calling them root mean square. So we have to take the mean of square and then take the root. So here that's how average error is defined. We are taking average of all the absolute error, and that's how we are writing our measured quantity. Now came to a most important term, which is fractional error or relative. Sometimes we express error in fraction, like we divide average error or RMS error by average values. So this gives us fractional error. We called it sometimes relative error. And another important term is percentage error. So percentage error is nothing but fractional error multiplied by 100. Sometimes we represent error in percentage. Now came to last and one of the most important discussion, that we also can classify error in two different broad categories. One is dependent error and another is independent error. Let's first came to dependent error. So for example, assume that we are measuring this rectangular bar. We are using same centimeter scale to measure the bar, measure the length, breadth and height of the bar. The smallest division of scale was 1 millimeter. So we get length as 5 plus or minus 0.05 centimeter. We are writing here the instrumental error. We measured it very precisely. We take several repeated experiment. Every time we are getting this value of 5 centimeter, but we are accurate up to the 0.05 cm. Similarly, we get breadth and height. So here the important thing is we use the same scale. So now the volume of the cube will be 5 into 3 into 2. It is coming out to be 30. So in case of error, so while we are measuring length, breadth and height, these error are dependent error. Like the error of length, error in the measurement of length depend on breadth, also height. It is also, say if we measure the mass of the bar, so mass measurement is completely different from the length measurement. So we can assume that if mass measurement is independent of measurement of length, so error in mass will be independent of length measurement. So any measurement made with the same piece of equipment are dependent. So now when we are going to measure the bar of the weight of the bar, so say this is our mass of 100 gram and there is a error of 0.1 gram. We consider it because of instrumental precision, how good our instrument is. Now one thing, let us discuss little about error propagation. Like in here we notice our length have error, breadth have error, height have error. Now we calculate the volume. It is coming out to be 30 centimeter cube. So question is, what about the error in the volume? We calculated the error. Error is coming out to be 2 centimeter cube. In the next video, we are going to discuss how I get that error. Also, now we have the mass of the bar as well as weight of the bar. as well as volume of the bar. Now we can easily calculate the density of the material by which the bar is made. So the density is coming out to be like 3.3 plus or minus 0.2. So how we get this error? So one thing I can say here, like while we are calculating the propagation of error. Like here, why propagation of error? The term that mass have an error always as well as volume has a error. So when we calculate density, this error propagate. So that means our density will also have an error. So that's why we called it error propagation. So one thing I want to say here before going to end. So while we are calculating the error during density, the error in mass and error in volume are independent. They don't depend on each other. So for independent error, there is a different set of rule. And also in case of volume, as we are calculate length, breadth, height from same piece of instrument. So while we will calculate the volume, the propagated error will be dependent on each other, like error of length, breadth and height will be connected. So for them there is a different set of rule. So in the next video we are going to learn how to calculate the propagation error. We are going to learn basically all those formula, helpful formula. They are easy. There is some tips to remember them. So I hope this video and next video will be helpful during lab course as well as in some NET GATE exam. Some problem came from error propagation. This video also can help them. Thank you. So if you like, please share, subscribe and like the video. Also you can comment how was the video.